Being in the watch house is not meant to be fun. They're designed and built as a holding place for adults awaiting charges to be laid after alleged bad behaviour, criminal behaviour. But when those detained are children and it's for days or even weeks on end, the situation can be fraught. And that's been acknowledged this week in a Queensland Civil and Administrative Tribunal ruling that heard about cell walls covered in faeces, kids having food withheld and being denied clean clothes. Shane Pryor is from the Queensland Police Union and is with you on ABC Far North. Shane, thank you for being there.
Good morning, Charlie.
This QCAT report, all 1,500 paragraphs of it, which I have to admit I haven't read line by line, but the lines that I have read are not easy to read, and I can imagine that that must be the case even for the most hard-nosed cop. How did you react?
Yeah, but Charlie, police agree that these conditions aren't suitable for juveniles, and that's exactly why police every day send an email to the Department of Youth Justice every 8 hours reminding them that they have juveniles in custody and requesting their staff to collect them without delay. Now, yesterday, just in Cairns Watch House, there were 11 juveniles being held. The bulk of them have been there 3 to 7 days, and one's been sitting there in the watch house for 13 days. Now, by any measure, that is unacceptable. So who in the Department of Justice is allowing that to happen in the first place? Just from your intro just there, you spoke about what watch houses are for, and the Cairns Watch House is like every other similar facility in Queensland. It is built to hold people after arrest, not to provide long-term care, surveillance or facilities for juveniles for long periods of time.
And look, when we speak with advocates, as we did yesterday, Catherine Hayes from the Youth Advocacy Centre, which visits these young people daily, it's not the police that they blame. They are blaming the government for a breakdown in the juvenile justice and detention system. Do you agree that that system is broken?
Oh, look, unfortunately, when you don't invest in something for decades, this is exactly what's going to happen. And the police union has been asking the Department of Youth Justice to comply with the rules that juveniles should not spend any longer than 24 hours in a police watch house. They're simply not fit for purpose for that. They should be in a fit for purpose facility, one that like they have down here in Waco.
Okay, the government says as recently as only a week ago that it has increased juvenile detention capacity. So why is this still happening?
Oh, look, that's a question for the government, frankly. But all I can do is just perhaps refer you back to the numbers that I just gave you. And as of yesterday, there were 11 juveniles in custody. We've got a fit-for-purpose facility down here in Waco that was purpose-built for juveniles. Now, to have 11 juveniles still in a police watch house is simply unacceptable. But we're seeing that not just with juveniles, with adults as well all around the state. I mean, we're seeing 70 to 80% of the prisoners in police custody actually belong to Queensland Corrective Services. So throw in youth justice in at the same time, I think it's fair to say that police are absolutely carrying the load in this state when it comes to doing the jobs of every other department. That includes youth justice.
Shane Pryor is with you on ABC Far North. He's the General President of the Queensland Police Union, responding to this QCAT report, all 1,500 paragraphs of it, Shane Pryor. And I understand that we're talking about the conditions right now, about them and the lack of suitability for children. But this report also detailed specific behaviour and claims from these teenage boys, 3 of them in 2021-22. One of those boys saying he had his cup of tea spat in by an officer. Another was told to shut up and stop crying in response to a death of another teenager in a car accident. Can you imagine any circumstances where watch house officers would resort to such behaviour?
Look, I don't know the specifics of those particular allegations, and frankly, this is the first I've heard of those particular allegations. I have every faith that every officer and every watch house officer in the state would never engage in such behaviour. But let's be clear, these are not hotel rooms. And they're not youth detention centres. They are police cells designed for short-term stay while awaiting transfer. They're ugly and they're unpleasant. So in terms of cleanliness, police haven't created these unpleasant conditions. Police remove hazards and manage some challenging behaviour from those in custody. But the reality is some of these juveniles damage the facilities, then complain about the facilities that they've just damaged as well. This is not a movie. This is real life. This happens every day. These are the conditions that our police and our watch house officers deal with day in, day out.
If true, are incidents like this a symptom of greater frustration by police at a situation that they find themselves in?
Oh, look, these are horrendous work environments. Just a short time ago, I did a shift with the staff at the Townsville Watch House, and the morale in there, in the working conditions that they're in, was quite remarkable. Like, the morale was amazing, but the conditions that they work in is frankly disgusting, and Cairns is no different. Much like many other watch houses around the state, we need a significant investment in these facilities. But more importantly, we need these prisoners to be picked up. These are not appropriate facilities for long-term care of juveniles or adult prisoners. It's really as simple as that. They are short-term facilities designed to get you before a court after allegations have been made.
Are police at breaking point? Does this kind of behaviour suggest that they're being pushed to the brink?
Look, police are under siege on a lot of fronts, and watch houses and overcrowded watch houses is one of those places. One of those places and one of those areas that absolutely is a teetering point at the moment. We've had situations around the state, in particular up in the far north, where special constables have been really filling that void. What I've found around the state doing shifts is that resourcing is a significant problem, and special constables in particular have been really filling the void. And that's why we've been calling as a union to expand the scope of special constables so we can get more in. But currently we have very experienced police who are special constables. They put their hand up to work in the Cairns Watch House, and I can tell you that their presence is very calming in that environment, and we know complaints have significantly dropped while they've been there. But at the moment, we have senior police that have cancelled all shifts for special constables, and instead 14 frontline police are being taken off the road to babysit prisoners in the watch house. Now, in my view, this is a ridiculous attempt to protect a budget, and personally, I believe this is an attitude that needs a rethink, because resourcing needs to be at the front and centre of what we're doing here, in particular when it comes to staffing our watch houses. Queensland
Police Union General President Shane Pryor, thanks very much for being with us and for giving your members a voice.
Thank you so much.
It is